In today's video, we're talking about the differences between a fixed aperture and a variable aperture zoom lens. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, I want to address the second most asked question that I get. Typically, the first question that I always get from beginners is, what camera should I buy? And then the second question is, which lens should I buy? And something that is not really understood by beginners is this whole concept of a variable aperture zoom lens. And that can really make a difference when you're buying a lens, because you could end up buying something that you're not aware of. You may be thinking you're buying something else and you'll get something completely different. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is the differences between the two different lenses. This is a fixed aperture lens. This is a variable aperture lens. And how I know that is that on the front of the lens, I've got all the information that I need in order to determine which type of lens it is. So there's two numbers that you need to pay attention to on the lens itself. You're going to find them on the front of the lens. Regardless of make or brand, that's where the information will be. The first set of numbers typically is the numbers that are specified in millimeters. And in this case, this says 24-70 millimeters. And what that means is that is the zoom range, if you like, the focal range of the lens. It means I can go all the way from wide at 24 mil, and I can go in and zoom into 70 millimeters. The second number that you're going to find in there is the aperture for that lens. And that is the aperture that is available to you throughout that whole range, the zoom range. So that is what you have available on your lens. So in this case, this is a f2.8, 24-70, which means that I can shoot at 2.8, whether I'm at 24 or 70 or somewhere in the middle. Okay, so let's jump over to the variable aperture lens. And so this is a kit lens that just came with one of our Rebels that we bought years ago. And you'll notice that this also has the numbers on the front, but they look a little bit different. So in this case, this is an 18 to 55 millimeter zoom. Okay, so it can go all the way down to 18 and then zoom in at 55. But then the aperture numbers look a little different to this one here. This one just said f2.8. This one here says 3.5-5.6. And what that means is that the aperture of this lens will change depending on where you are in the focal range. So depending on how far you zoomed in or zoomed out, you're going to get a different maximum aperture available to you in this lens. And that's something that you need to be aware of. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but think about it for a second. If you're shooting in manual mode and you've got your camera ready to go and everything's right, so you've got the right shutter speed, you've got the right aperture, but then you zoom in a little bit to try and get a better composition, then potentially your aperture may shut down just a little bit, may close down a little bit, which is going to result in a underexposed photograph. But this could also be a problem if you're shooting in automatic mode. And the reason for that is that although the camera is going to compensate and put the right settings depending on the aperture and the shutter speed, it will give you the right combination for you to get the right exposure. What you need to think about is depth of field. There's a definite difference between a photograph taken at 3.5, an f3.5, to one taken at 5.6. At 5.6, you are going to get a lot more depth of field than you will at 3.5. Okay, so let me show you how this works in real life. I've got an old Rebel here, and I've got the variable aperture zoom on here. I'm zoomed, or I'm actually all the way back, so I'm as wide as this goes. Again, this is an 18 to 55 millimeter lens, and variable aperture from 3.5 to 5.6. Okay, so I am at the 18 millimeters, which means it's really wide. And I'm going to be shooting in aperture priority because I want to be able to set my aperture. And then I want to show you what happens as I zoom in and out. So let me turn that on, and you will see on the back of the screen here all the information that you need. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to just turn the zoom barrel. Okay, that's the only thing that I'm going to do. So, and you will see what happens to the aperture. It automatically starts to go up, and this is telling me now that that is the maximum. If I try to change that, I can go up, but I can't go down any further than that, because at that point the lens is no longer able to give me an aperture of 3.5 when I'm zoomed in all the way. So I'll just show you what happens when you use the other lens. Nothing's changed here. I've still got, it's the same camera, just the lenses have changed. I'm still on aperture priority, so I'm going to switch that on, and I'm going to set the aperture on here to 2.8, which is as wide as this lens goes. And you will notice that as I zoom in and out with this one, it just doesn't change. So it stays at the same aperture. It's available throughout the whole range for me. Okay, so I hope that that made sense. And again, I wanted to make the video because I think that a lot of people do get confused by those numbers. So now, knowing what those numbers means, it just means that you can make a more informed decision when you're buying your next lens. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy these sort of lenses. I started my career using kit lenses, and you can do some excellent work with variable aperture lenses. I think my portfolio was, for the first few years, it was all shot on this, and all of my work was also shot on one of these. And the reason for that is that these lenses, or the professional lenses, and it doesn't matter which brand, again, they're just ridiculously expensive. And there is reasons for that. These lenses are, they're made of metal, so they're better built, they've got better optics, and again, you've got that aperture available throughout the range. So there are some quality differences between this and this, but knowing what you get from this, at least if you know those limitations, you can work around them to achieve the same result. Now, if you're enjoying this video or you're finding it useful, could I get you to click the like button? It makes a massive difference to me because it tells me that I'm making the kind of content that you enjoy watching. And it also influences the type of content that I make in the future. So if you are enjoying this or you're finding it useful, please click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. I make videos like this every week to help you with your photography. So if you don't want to miss out on any of those, click the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And have you checked out ministryoffphoto.com? If you haven't, make sure that you do. That's a site that I launched a few months ago, and in there you're going to find blog articles. So there's reviews, there's some tutorials, there's even some freebies that you can download, things such as Lightroom presets. So it's completely free, so make sure you check it out. That's ministryoffphoto.com. And if you've got any questions on anything that I talked about today, or anything else for that matter, just leave them in the comment section below. That's the best place to get in touch with me. But if you prefer, you can reach me through any of the usual social media platforms. I'll put all the links in the description. So that's everything I've got for you today. Again, please don't forget to click the like button. I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.